the last week you'll feel your heart. And if you've stayed this long, it means one thing's true about you. You're not here because you needed comfort. You're here because comfort became uncomfortable. Now, most people want healing, but they don't want to do the work. And that's not what Heal Your Heart has been. This week, we're going deeper into your life and we're discussing responsibility. A responsibility can be very confronting because it removes the last place you can hide. And it causes you to fix or eliminate what you're willing to be accountable for. Now, we live in a world that has trained us to think that when something good happens, we've earned it. When something bad happens, we're a victim. That belief feels safe, but it makes us fragile and weak. And when we're not accountable for our pain and suffering, our successes and potential do not belong to us. But what you're about to hear is not blame, it's not judgment, and it's not spiritual bypass. This is the moment when your healing turns into creation, and you stop living from who you were, and you start living from who you can become. This is when healing stops being the goal, and the goal becomes self-leadership. Now, accountability showed you how you contributed to your experiences. And that awareness gave you access to something most people will never get. Choices. And choices allow you to respond and not have to react. What most people don't realize is reactions are automatic. Reactions are effortless, mentally, emotionally, and physically. You have a thought, your nervous system's activated, and then you move. But to react means to act the same way again. You practice thoughts, you practice emotions, you practice behaviors. If repeating yourself was working, you would have not come here, and you wouldn't be here for week 8. Now, most reactions are survival-based, even though most of your life isn't dangerous, even if your mind and body thinks it is. You imagine a threat, you anticipate losses, and then those reactions are limiting your success. Responses override reactions and habits because responsibility is just the ability to respond. It's a conscious decision to act or stay still. You'll always have reactions. You're going to feel something, you're going to think something. And those are the moments your life's decided. Not the events, but your responses to your reactions. Now, this doesn't show up when your life's falling apart. It shows up when your alarm goes off and you hit the snooze button, or when someone irritates you and you feel the urge to retaliate. And when you know what you should do, but you start negotiating with yourself instead. Those moments don't feel important, but they either strengthen or weaken you. Are you going to let those reactions control you, or are you going to start controlling yourself? Responsibility gives you control of your thoughts, your feelings, and actions. But the hardest part of responsibility isn't the effort, it's letting go of the identity that responsibility threatens. Because it doesn't just ask you to do more. It asks you to stop being the version of you who's been rewarded for who you've been. And that loss, even though it's necessary, is what most people will avoid. Most people are never going to leave the first stage, which is where life's heavy, effort's constant, and progress feels impossible. They're going to have the same reactions, same habits, same outcomes. And responsibility is going to feel pointless because nothing is going to look different yet. Your body isn't resisting change because it's weak. It's resisting because unfamiliar feels unsafe. The next stage is where growth actually begins and where most people turn back. Life's still hard. There's progress, and some things are changing. And that's exactly why people quit, because progress threatens identity. Staying the same feels safer than becoming a version that you don't know. But if you stick with it, momentum starts, effort finally rewards you, habits start to stabilize, and confidence becomes embodied. So what used to feel uphill now feels purposeful, and then things transform. You stop facing behavior because your identity is doing the work. Things are accelerating and results are exceeding effort. And then opportunities appear without chasing. And that's abundance. Not because life got easier, but because you've mastered your responses. And up to this point, everything I've talked about may make sense, but responsibility doesn't live in theory. It shows up in how you respond to something you used to react to. And there's really only one way to see whether this work has changed you. Before this week ends, there's work that matters just as much as any work you've done. It's not new insights. It's not more processing. It's just reviewing. So go back through what you wrote in the earlier weeks. Just choose one experience per week you wrote about when you were still reacting. Not to relive, not to judge, just to look at it with honesty. Ask yourself, how did I react then? What did I want to say or do? Then ask yourself these questions. How would I respond now? And what responsibility could I take today that I would not take before? And here's what you're going to realize. You're no longer responding the same way. And this isn't just reflection. This is evidence of you doing the work. If you see yourself responding differently, you're not the person who started this course. And that is responsibility becoming real. And none of this happened by luck. It happened because you did the work. And that's why this is vital to your success. Because every layer requires a stronger identity. And that is what most people don't realize. So you might get what you imagine, but you keep what you're prepared to maintain. So if you got your dreams right now, your health, relationships, career, money, would you be able to keep it all? Responsibility builds the identity and capacity required to maintain your dreams. And without stronger identities, your success will disappear. Not because life's unfair, but because your nervous system pulls you back to what's comfortable. And over time, that pull could stall your success and give you regrets. So the same mechanism that shrinks your life is the one that can expand it. And if you think back to week one, the version of you who started this, you didn't need new information. You needed a new relationship with yourself. Forgiveness softens you. Gratitude stabilized you. Accountability woke you up. But responsibility is what's going to make your work permanent. It's the same pull that works in the opposite direction too. And once you start training it, a year from now, your life could look radically different because of the responses you practiced and the conversations you had. The habits you didn't negotiate with and the moments you chose responsibility over comfort. The version of you will not have gotten lucky. You'll earned it through practice. And this is how you would raise the temperature of your thermostat. Now, it's not glamorous, it's not easy, but it is free. Because once you've retrained your mind, circumstances, situations, and conditions no longer have to control you. They may influence you in the moment, but they don't have to define or stop you. They just become lessons in accountability, training to strengthen you, and more fuel for your dreams. This course was an exercise in responsibility. You didn't have to come here. You didn't have to do this work, but you did it. You don't change your life by reacting better. You change it by responding differently. And over time, those responses are going to create new reactions until you have a higher level of life you're living. Every reaction you override and every habit you interrupt and every response you choose is you creating a new identity. And that's how difficult becomes growth, growth becomes momentum, and momentum becomes abundance. And this is not going to happen overnight, but it will happen with consistency. It happens the moment you stop waiting and start leading your life, because waiting is a decision. It's just not yours. The question that ends Heal Your Heart is, what experience confront you next? How will you react then? Will you react as who you were or who you're becoming? Your life isn't created by what happens to you. It's created by how you respond. And that responsibility is yours.